Welcome back to another episode of 5 Questions with Frank. And today I have Mary Henderson. She is a speaker and author, an internationally recognized personal branding and social selling specialist. She's also the founder of Six Figure Expert, an end-to-end online coaching program exclusively designed for coaches, consultants, startups, and business owners that takes them from idea to productization and monetization in months. A girl after my own heart, a former tech guru who got her start in the IT industry. Mary, I am literally ecstatic to have you on. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's just so nice to be able to be talking to somebody on the other side of the world. How cool is that?
So it's literally so amazing. And the fact that, which is something I love, that we met through LinkedIn, conversed and exchanged voice messages and DMs, and now here we are using the power of video. So yes, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
So before we get into the Q&A, I would love to give the audience a glimpse into the day of life of Mary Henderson and what it is that makes you tick.
Oh my goodness. Well, every day's different. So that's the first thing. But I think what I would like to say, Frank, if it's okay, is I am a girl that plans my day. And so there's never a day that goes by where my day's ad hoc. It really is very task driven, very much I plan the things that I need to achieve every single day so I can get one step closer to my macro goal. And that could consist of obviously my social media posting, my content posting, interviews like this. There could be a podcast that I'm scheduled for. Most importantly, face-to-face meetings with prospects, actual physical meetings where I actually meet people in real life, or they could be over Zoom. I spend a lot of time thinking about strategy because I work with a lot of private clients. So that's time for self-reflection for someone like myself is absolutely critical. And I think just a lot of self-care. I really, really am a big believer in self-care. I do take myself out for a coffee, for a walk. I live by the water, so I will physically move my body out of my house and just smell the roses, like literally. So it's a combination of a lot of things. And I think the key word for me is just making sure that I show up as a grounded human every day, Frank. So I don't have a day of a really is different. And as I said before, very much task day.
Great. That is so. I don't know how you find the time to do. I feel like you are literally everywhere. I know you just were on the speaking circuit. I've heard you on so many different podcasts. You're all over LinkedIn. You're this LinkedIn celebrity. So planning out your day must be quite the job. So it's so fun to get a little peek into that. What I'd love to know, what is the fun thing about this, is how you got started in the personal branding industry. Give us a little glimpse into how you got to where you are today.
That's a fantastic question, Frank. Personal branding for me actually started 19 years ago. It's been a very long time. When personal branding wasn't personal branding, nobody knew what personal branding was back then. I started to climb the corporate ladder quite quickly when I was actually around 29, 30. So I was very, very young, and heading, in corporate land. I got this amazing opportunity, and this was back in year 2000, and I was managing the largest business account for the IT company that I was working for. And they were about to pull their business away from the company I worked for. It was a declining $8 million business at that time. So I went and met with the new client, and this was a major retailer. And the team that I was meeting with were all in the room. So it was about 12 people. We were all sat around a big table and we were just talking about where the business is heading, just, you know, yada, yada, yada. It was just all small talk. The stakeholder, the key person that was the decision maker of that business unit, she didn't show up. So for me, that day was a big deal because my director said to me that morning, Mary, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is that you have this amazing opportunity ahead of you, but the bad news is you've got 12 weeks to fix the problem because they're about to pull their business away from us. So as I left this meeting and the lift door opened, this woman was standing in the lift and I was wearing red snakeskin boots. You know, I talk about brand signature all the time, right? So my shoes are literally my signature. I walked into the lift. There's a woman standing behind me and I could feel her staring at me, you know, up and down. And I'm thinking, I'm getting really uncomfortable because in my mind, you know, I'm thinking, I have got 12 weeks to fix this problem and I'm nowhere near it. So this woman turns to me and she says, I have to have those red snakeskin boots. I intuitively knew it was her. So I looked at her and I said, are you such and such? And she said, yes. And I said, you were supposed to be in my meeting. You didn't show up. And she said, well, that's because we're moving our business away from you. And I said, look, are you going downstairs to have some lunch? And she said, yes. I said, please give me 5 minutes. I really, really want to talk to you about the problem. And I can't fix the problem if I can't have a conversation with you. And she said, well, your predecessors couldn't fix it. So what makes you think that you can fix it? I said, if you allow me to buy you a coffee, I promise you I'll tell you where I bought my red snakeskin shoes. So I made fun of it. We sat down, we had coffee, you know, and I told her what I needed. She agreed. And I left that meeting, Frank, and I thought, that meeting changed my life. Those red snakeskin boots actually changed my life because I realized when I left that meeting, OMG, her and I connected not because of IT or even the problem that existed. We actually connected because we had a like-minded zone, and that was called fashion. That was the conversation starter, number one. Number two, if I can solve this complex problem, which I will, I'm going to position myself as a complex problem solver in the IT industry. And you and I both know, Frank, that in the IT industry, it's a very male-dominated industry. And as a woman, I wanted to own that brand of being a complex problem solver. I solved that problem in 12 weeks. I built that business from 8 million to 22 million in 18 months with double-digit margins, which is unheard of in IT. And I started to play with the idea of personal branding from that day, which then became my methodology. It's how I ran all my businesses. It got me discovered in the IT industry from a US multinational. And then fast forward to this moment, and I want to make this point. I think it's a very important point. I always say to people, I have found the love of my life. It's not a relationship, but it's the relationship that I have with my mission. And that is that all of the skills that I've mastered over the years in my career, personal branding, sales, and digital, because I had my own digital agency for many years, I've merged those together and actually can solve a major complex problem in the world today. So I can help people. And that's why we should never dismiss anything that we do in terms of our career, our life experience, our professional experience, because when you can package it and you can take the noise out or step outside the noise, you can merge those skills and ask ourselves one very important question. What problem can I solve with all of these skills that I've amassed over the years? So I wanted to just throw that little bit in at the end because personal branding was the impetus to where I'm at today, just because of those red snakeskin boots.
It's awesome. That's so amazing. That little insect. When you put those boots on that morning, I doubt that you thought they'd have the impact that they did. So
absolutely not.
So
no way.
So what advice would you give someone thinking about starting a career in personal branding? What would you give them as a tip?
I think that there are many versions of personal branding. And I think from my standpoint, it really has to be experiential. You have to actually experience it like I did to actually set you on that trajectory. I'm not sure if, I agree with personal branding being sold. It's too diluted for me in the way that most people are position personal branding. In other words, it's not just your values, it's not just authenticity, it's not just storytelling, it's not just about showing up every day on LinkedIn or social media and just being you. Well, we have to be you. I mean, that's just common sense. For me, personal branding has to be commercialized. So when people ask me what I do, I say I commercialize personal brands. That's a big difference. If you can't commercialize a personal brand, you're just a part of the white noise. And this is the difference, Frank. I think that when the angle that I come from with personal branding, and because I have implemented this methodology with my sales team, with my employees when I had my own company, it works. And the reason it works is because I'm focused exclusively on the individual's genius zone, not just who they are in their natural state, but actually what problem can they solve based on their professional experience. And these things need to merge together. So personal branding is not just one-sided, which is where most people come from. For me, it really has to be an end-to-end. I'm interested in who you are on the inside, and I'm interested who you are on the outside, and how do we merge those two together so that you can actually commercialize it. It's a very, very, very big difference.
Great. You're putting on a clinic right now. I love it. What do you think is the greatest thing about the industry?
I think that there's growth in every industry, and I think that we have to really take a step back and breathe. We're all immersed in this conversation around digital transformation. So we're all worried that a robot's going to be taking over our jobs. We're even talking about it over the dinner table. Here's my advice. I don't believe any profession is at risk. I really don't. What I believe is that humans are at risk. The humans that are not prepared to invest in their growth and upskill, that's actually what's at risk. So I think that when I'm thinking about any profession, any industry, my angle is not where it's heading, but actually where are you heading? I read, Frank, in the World Economic Forum a few weeks ago in their white paper that they actually said that every employee will require by 2022 an average of 101 days, that's 101 days of upskilling. Now, Frank, 101 days is 808 hours of upskilling. Okay? That's a massive eye-opener. So what does that tell me? It tells me that every profession, every industry will be impacted at a human level if we don't actually invest in learning and in becoming a better version of ourselves, because where we're heading is in specialization. So I believe that a human being that has amassed enough skill sets really needs to be asking themselves, what can I do with these skill sets? And what would it look like if I could position myself as a specialist, not as a job title and not as a job description? What do I look like as a specialist? That would be my advice.
Awesome. Great. And 20 weeks, that's a big number right there. So that
Yes.
is staggering. All right. So on the flip side of that, what is one thing about the industry that you would change if you could?
I mean, the thing is that a lot of industries, I think, are still old school. So, I mean, as loose as this sounds, I do believe that the management of industries, including your industry, really is about leadership style. And what I think we need to change is this notion around bringing in emotional intelligence, really bringing it down to a human to human level, a heart to heart level. Humanizing corporate is fundamental. And I think that needs to really change quick. We can't move forward if we're actually holding on to the past. So for me, humanizing the human in a corporate environment, I think is really critical. And I think leadership needs to embrace this notion around EQ versus IQ and step into that place of vulnerability, step into that place of allowing people to step into your passions. Because when you do that, that's how you create brand ambassadors. Brand ambassadors follow people that they like based on know, like, trust. They're tapping into, or they have the permission to tap into people's hearts. When you can do that, you actually create brand ambassadors. And that's why entrepreneurs like the Gary V's of this world are so successful, because he's an open book. We can actually learn so much from people like that, even in the corporate landscape. I think empathy is a really big deal.
Awesome. Great. So this is, anyone who's ever tuned in and heard this before, this is my favorite question. It gives you a chance to be historically correct and pontificate a little bit and give us a glimpse into the future. But what big changes do you predict will be here in the next 5 years or so?
Well, obviously technology, I think that's a given. And, Frank, I'm excited by that. I'm really excited. There's some amazing technologies that are, that so many people are working on that you and I don't even know exist right now. I think the biggest change in the world is 5G, that I'm really convinced that 5G is the game changer. And if you read the work from the likes of Peter Diamandis, who owns SpaceX, Singularity University, he also places massive emphasis on 5G. My view is around 5G that the moment that 5G becomes a normal technology, our competition will absolutely tenfold. And the reason for that is that person who lives in a remote village somewhere in the in the desert, somewhere in some place around the world, will have access to technology, and that person will become your competitor and my competitor. 5G will change the game, even in the way that we work, even the way you and I are communicating right now. Speed, I believe, is where it's at. And, I know with myself, Frank, I have actually traveled for 3 or 4 days with my phone. That's it, just my phone alone. And I have been able to conduct my entire business just from that mobile phone. No laptop, no desktop, nothing, just from that mobile phone. Can you imagine when 5G comes into play, that mobile phone will be so supersonic fast that I can almost multitask? So I think that the future really is 5G. I think that every industry will be impacted because of that technology.
That's actually like an amazing answer, because it's so true. And especially the competition part, it's like going to give everyone the ability to become a competitor. You're right. So I love that answer. All right. So great. It was awesome to have you on. If you don't mind, I know the folks would love to know where they can find you. So they want to find Mary. Where are you located? Where you spend most of your time, or if they want to look you up, where's that at?
Absolutely. So LinkedIn, obviously, just search for Mary Henderson Coaching, or please feel free to email me, mary@maryhendersoncoaching.com. And that's it. Very, very simple. I'm uncomplicated.
I love it. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this. I know that Mary just literally dropped so much amazing stuff. So a few things. One, if you're wondering what I am, and she's not going to answer it right now, she will in the comments, hopefully when the episode drops. Does she still have those red boots? Let's find out. So if you have questions for Mary, please drop them in the comments. She's amazing. She will answer them. And I know she's such a giver. And make sure you follow her here on LinkedIn because she's always dropping some amazing content. So Mary, thank you so much for being on. I truly, truly appreciate it. And thanks for giving the audience just a glimpse into some of the great ideas that you have.
Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you. I appreciate you.